The Alberta separation will never ever happen, and here is the reason why. Recently we've heard the Alberta separation. The people intending to separate Alberta from the rest of Canada, becoming an independent state, an independent country.
Does anybody here really think things are going to be different this time?
This crowd wants to make its own changes, and that means taking Ottawa out of the equation.
We want to be in charge of our own nation.
People say the separatist sentiment in Alberta is the result of different federal governments failing to take care of the province.
Nothing much changes because they can't even deal with abolishing equalization payments or abolishing supply management.
A former Conservative member within the UCP is also on board.
We believe that we are in a toxic, abusive relationship with the rest of Canada, and we need to be looking at the terms for our divorce from Canada.
Cameron Davies left the UCP last month. He's now running the Republican Party of Alberta, which is pushing for separation.
The word Republican comes from the desire to see Alberta as an independent constitutional republic.
Others are against the push, a smaller counter-demonstration set up next to Saturday's independence rally.
To let people know this land is not for sale, it's not going to separate, and it never will.
Premier Danielle Smith was asked on her Chorus radio show if she would call a referendum. She says she will try to work with the new federal government.
What I have overwhelmingly heard is that people want me to give this new relationship and this new prime minister a chance to correct some of the issues that have festered for the last 10 years.
Smith said she talked with Prime Minister Mark Carney Friday and called the conversation a positive first step. But Smith adds talk needs to become results.
We have to see action, and that is what I will be pressing for. What I was encouraged by is that he is very clear about wanting to establish economic corridors.
A possible olive branch in what is still a shaky relationship.
This is being spread by few guided individuals, delusional lunatics, and who are being supported by this convicted felony, the president of the south of the border and his neo-Nazi organization, which we know as MAGA, Make America Great Again. Albertans head to the polls in October in referendum on referendum with two options. Should Alberta remain the province of Canada, or should it begin a legal process to hold a binding referendum on whether I'll be separate from Canada? This was announced on May 21 in a televised address by the Alberta Premier. Danielle Smith is going to vote to remain in Canada. She is not going to tear Canada apart, no. She is not that delusional, that guided. She is not going to be influenced by a felony, a warmongering, vile individual, the president of the United States. What he touches, he destroys. He has destroyed his country. Now he has set to destroy this country. The separation question will appear alongside with other questions of immigration policy and constitutional changes. I don't think the date in October has been announced yet. 700 Albertans signed a petition in 2025 calling for the vote so that Albertans can vote either to remain in Canada or separate as becoming independent country. However, the petition was struck down by an Albertan court that it infringes on the Treaty of Indigenous People, the natives who are the owners of this country, not Europeans, no. This country belongs to the indigenous people, the natives, the aboriginal people of this country, true owners. We've heard some people make comments, oh, immigrant to our country. If you are of European descent, this is not your country. This country belongs to the natives. You and I, we are just immigrants here. Although you might be a descendant of immigrant and I might be a recent immigrant, but ultimately we are just the same. Reasons for the separation. Alberta province has the fourth largest oil reserves planet Earth. We've heard of the oil sands of Alberta. However, federal government has been drawing discipline prosperity. Back in 19 Trudeau Justin, his father, introduced a national energy program, which was then capping the domestic oil prices below world market rates and directing oil revenues to the federal government. 5 years later, it had a devastating effect on our unemployment rose from then 80 went all the way to 24% by 1984. This is like third world standards. Unacceptable. In a province that is sitting on the fourth largest oil rich in the country. Thousands of jobs disappeared from the province of Alberta. Oil companies left the province, packed their bags. Alberta, as a province, lost an estimated 100 billion Canadian dollars in revenue during National Energy Program. Second reason, Canada's equalization payment system, under which wealthier provinces like the province of Dice, the poorer ones, provinces, has actually kept this wound open. We are talking of then the repealed National Energy Program. I still feel the wound is festering. What then happened when their economy was devastated by the National Energy Program. Alberta consistently contributes far more than to the federal treasury that it receives back in spending. People feel that they are subsidizing the entire nation. They feel that they can be wealthier on their own as a nation rather than to remain in Canada and give money to poor provinces, because there are a lot of provinces which are not producing anything. They don't have any resources. They are saying we can take our oil resources outside Canada and enjoy our wealth rather than to give to that John over there who is poor in the province of whoever, rather than to give to that putter over there who is poor. We can take ourselves out of Canada and then we get to enjoy our prosperity. Another reason which rather necessitated this agitation for separation is federal climate policy, including a carbon tax, emission caps on oil sector, no more pipeline bill. Albertans felt that Ottawa is strangling their province's economic lifeline. Under Justin Trudeau, there was a significant initiative to manage climate change, which then included the carbon tax and caps on emission. And there was this no more pipeline bill passed under Trudeau. Then Albertans felt that the federal government is keeping a stranglehold on their economy. They wanted their economy to die a death of 1,000 cuts, because the economy of Alberta is solely dependent on one major resource, which is the oil. Carney has recently signed a memorandum of understanding with Alberta. This is why I said these individuals who are spearheading this separation of Alberta, trying to take Alberta out of Canada and make it an independent nation, they are misguided, delusional lunatics who are being supported and abetted by this convicted felon, this warmongering president of the United States, and his neo-Nazi MAGA movement, which espouses the ideals and the ideology of white nationalism. Notion of wanting to separate Alberta from the rest of Canada is somewhat tied to white nationalism, details of white nationalism beyond the scope video. Carney has signed a memorandum of understanding with the government of Alberta, reversing the liberal past sins, past mistakes, past crimes. He has pledged to work with Alberta on new pipeline projects. This no more pipeline bill is now dead in water, and he has established a major projects office which will work directly with Alberta. Remember, Carney is from Alberta. He was born in the Northern Territories and moved to Alberta at an age of 6. Moved to Alberta at an age where he's still impressionable, still malleable. He actually has the culture. He was raised under the culture. He is an Albertan. Both our federal leaders, Carney and Pierre, they are both from Alberta. He was born in Alberta. Moved to a country at an age of 6 or to a province at an age of 6. You are very impressionable. You can easily pick up on the culture. on the traits, on the idiosyncrasies of the people, and you can easily become part of that culture, part of that line. Carney, when he took over, he moved to center, more to center right. Alberta, they have no reason to be mourning and groaning about what was done by the Liberals in the past. This is the new era under Carney. The guy is doing a great job. I admire Prime Minister Carney. I came here during the time of Secession, and then from Secession we moved to Paul Martin, from Paul Martin to Stephen Harper, from Stephen Harper to Justin Trudeau, and now we have Carney. Out of these prime ministers, Carney is doing the greatest job. He is the best prime minister of these prime ministers I've just mentioned. I've studied their history of this country. I've studied the formation and all its past sins and its past virtues and its past vices. At the beginning, I've stated that Alberta will never separate from the country of Canada and become independent. Here is why. Under the international law, all people have the right to self-determination, including Alberta. The right to shape their own political, economic, and cultural future. Outside colonial context, the right means self-governing within an existing state, not the right to break away from it under international law. The legal right to succession outside colonial context exists only in the most extreme circumstances. If actively being oppressed or denied meaningful say in your governance. For example, you have no right to vote. You have no right to participate in the government. You cannot be elected. You cannot run for public office. Alberta, a wealthy and democratic province with its own elected legislature, falls short of this threshold. You are actively being oppressed. You are being denied meaningful say in your own governance. Does Alberta mean this threshold? Resounding no separation of Alberta. The case has no merit. It has to be dismissed with the contempt it deserves. That was the under international law. What I just said, let's look at what Canadian law says. Under the Canadian constitutional law, there is no right to unilateral succession. The law expressly provide or prohibit a province from leaving. It's not please say you can go if you want to or you can't go. In 1995, the province of Quebec, which always had tried to break away from Canada, become an independent country, Quebec could not declare independence. In 1990, the Supreme Court of Canada declared that Quebec could not unilaterally declare independence. If a clear majority vote yes on a clear question, not on an ambiguous question, a clear question on succession, the federal government has a constitutional obligation to negotiate the province's constitutional future in good. The following things now has to be on the table. Democracy, the rule of the law, the protection of minorities must be respected by both sides in that negotiation. The Clarity Act of 2000 was passed in response to Quebec's 1995 independence referendum, and the subsequent Supreme Court judgment set out those conditions, and the question must be unambiguous. The majority must be clear. It's not 50 plus 1, no, must be clear. 70% vote yes, they want to leave the province. Albertans enjoy being in Canada. They enjoy the protection of the government. They enjoy everything, what Canada gives. They are never going to get 70%. As I said, this is only being spearheaded by misguided, delusional lunatics, being supported and abetted by a convicted felon, a warmongering president with his neo-Nazi white nationalist movement called MAGA. There are podcasts right now, right-wing conservative podcast, like the one which was being run by the assassinated Charlie Kirk. They are supporting this. I've listened to them. Go and listen to what they are saying. And those, they have the support of this convicted felon, this warmongering, fighting senseless wars and bombing other people's children. Province of Alberta separate will never happen, because the time this drag in the course, the convicted felony will be out of the office or some 6 feet somewhere, because that is serious health issues. The separation of Alberta will never happen. Under Section 2 of the Clarity Act, which was passed in 2000, the House of Commons has the final say on what counts as a clear majority. We have Pierre Poilievre, who is also from Alberta, does not support these misguided individuals. His caucus, which is predominantly from that province, does not support these misguided individuals, delusional lunatics, who are spearheading the separation of Alberta. Carney has already signaled that a simple 50+1 majority will not be enough for the. He is not going to support. He is from that province. He was young and impressionable when he moved to the province of Alberta. Born in the Northern Territory, but grew up there. Went to elementary school, middle school, high school before moving to United States for university. He was raised with the culture of that province. He is an Albertan by naturalization. Even a successful referendum would only be the beginning of this process. By the time when it drags all this vile, convicted felony pedophile, as I said, is either out of the office, his influence won't be felt much, or he might be 6 feet somewhere, 6 feet under something, because we know that his health is in danger though, although they are trying to hide it. Any actual separation will require a negotiated, constitutional amended, a complex, a multi-party process involving the federal parliament and the provincial legislature. It will take years and to block the process. In closing, let me say this. These misguided, delusional lunatics who are being supported by a vile man, a convicted felon, and his neo-Nazi MAGA movement, calling for the separation of the province. Now, but in the legislature, which was elected by the people of Alberta, and the premier they elected, and their federal leader who comes from the province, who is a member of the parliament from that province, and all the federal government, all the conservative, they all not support the breaking up of this country. Alberta must remain in Canada. That's where it belongs. Misguided lunatics, I am appealing to you. Stop wasting your time and think one day Alberta will be an independent country. The country will never break, the province will never break away from Canada. The people of Alberta, they have a place in Canada. Stop being influenced by this vile man who is a convicted felony, who is a warmonger. We have flown planes to go and bomb children, not soldiers in the battlefield, but children, other people's children. And his neo-Nazi MAGA movement, which embraces the ideals and the ideology of white nationalism. Stop being influenced by that. Enjoy being Canadian. You can negotiate all what you want within Canada. Carney has your listening ear. He's listening to you. We thank you for watching this video. Please spread the message that Alberta belongs to Canada. We thank you for watching.